Welcome. Another day of Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. I'm recording this on a weekday. What a difference a day makes. Thank you to all who have gotten up to join live or stayed up, depending on where you are in the world. And thank you to all watching by video as we continue to explore a great spiritual ideal of knowing who you are and being comfortable being you no matter what arises. In Sanskrit, that is called samatvam. Today's topic, your questions answered, because I got a couple of great questions and I want to make sure I get to them. All right, so before I forget, happy birthday to Claire. So this practice is for you, and this practice is also for Jen, who inspires me to reconnect with my own wisdom and is just a wonderful all-around person. So to both of you, and to all of you, because we're really all the same, at least according to the Bhagavad Gita. So when I talk about my personal experience, sometimes it can seem universal. Your experience is unique, though, and if you have a different one than I do, good for you. And this is going to bring us to the key topic, but first, an introductory question to the key topic du jour. So the first question was, who is Rosie? Because I've been wearing this shirt for the past couple of days. So those of you with stellar memories might recall that back around the classes like 161, 162, 163, the videos with those numbers, I wore this shirt. It's been a while. So this is a good memory test for you. And for me, to remember what I said. So Rosie's Pizza in Lorraine, still there on Broadway. My opinion, some of the best pizza in the world, authentic Sicilian style pizza. They do not pay me. But full disclosure, I'm related to them because Rosie was my maternal grandmother's sister, so my great aunt. And I have fond memories of going to the pizza place with my grandfather, and she would let us go in the back and put whatever we wanted on the pizza, and as much as we wanted. You should have seen my grandpa's pizzas. They were so thick. Anyway, so that's who Rosie is. Thank you for asking as a way to remind us. And then the second question really feeds into this, which is, I'm going to paraphrase. Basically, all these things that you're saying in the video, I know, and they resonate, but then I forget. I forget about them during the day, in the heat of the moment, or if I don't watch you for a little bit. What's up with that? Why do we forget? What a fantastic question. Because in yoga psychology, the idea is we actually don't really forget anything. It's stored in there. It's just a matter of accessing it. So if you don't remember Rosie from previous, you might really relate to this. Why do we forget? There are so many reasons. I'm going to try to stick to a few, and especially a few related to the Bhagavad Gita. So one reason can be that our minds have these default patterns that have taken over our thinking, quite frankly. And it's why sometimes other people, not ourselves, but other people can seem so unreasonable. Why do they continue to think this way despite any evidence to the contrary? So, for example, waking up or coming out of meditative practice, you might have an experience of peace, of calm, of insight. But then as soon as you come out of the practice or you get out of bed, you go right back to the regular day and you forget about all those insights. And then you come back later and go, why didn't I remember this during the day, during my phone calls, during my work, during my commute? One answer is that your mind was built to think. Its job is to analyze and to keep you alive. When you come out of sleep or a good meditation, that sounds judgmental, a meditation, let's just use that. Sometimes your mind is quiet. Now, during the sleep and during the practice, the mind is quiet. But as soon as it starts to rev up again, it's faced with the external world. You got to come back to the external world. It's got to do its job. There can be, this is from observing my own mind. So observe yours and see if it's different. This moment of my mind goes, huh, wait, I'm not doing anything. I got to do something. What do I do? And it goes right back to its default. Because, like, okay, there's this silence, this emptiness. I have to fill it. I'm going right back to my default stuff because that's easy. It's top of the playlist. We can see this with people when we interact with them. Try sitting in silence with somebody. It's fabulous. Just sit and notice how that feels and who really moves to break the silence first. And the breaking of the silence is probably going to be the same kind of topics that are usually churning in your mind. You'll probably not go suddenly, let's talk about God in these different spiritual traditions. It's not probably, unless that's what you do for work all day, but it's going to be something like the weather or the traffic or the news or the this. Okay, so we default. But a second reason, related more directly to the Bhagavad Gita, is it's said that, and Krishna says this in the Gita, that he is the cause of our memory and forgetfulness. So Krishna represents our true self, and Arjun represents our ego, time bound, limited self. So the true eternal self is kind of our gatekeeper to memory sometimes. Sometimes it's useful for us to remember things, and sometimes it's best if we forget. And I'm sure many of us can think of memories we have in our head that we would just rather forget, but they're stuck there. Thank you, amygdala. Um, in fact, the whole Bhagavad Gita is purported to be a dialogue between two eternal spirits, Krishna and Arjun, who are reborn in different limited bodies. And Krishna remembers all his rebirths. And Arjun purposefully, the being embodied as Arjun in this Gita, purposefully forgets. And why? So that Krishna can narrate the Gita to him and Vedavyas could write it down and share it with the world. So the purpose of memory and forgetfulness can be used judiciously to help us along the spiritual path or to help us help others along. Sometimes us forgetting lets other people see things as we relearn what we've forgotten. And especially if you're in yoga and you want other people to try yoga, it can be very good for you to seem to forget things, like to freak out a little bit about life, and then to remember, this is what I know, and to demonstrate that remembering and give that example so that other people go, wait a minute, I can tap into my skill of remembering too, even if I'm freaking out, just like they did. So there are some ideas. I'm so glad you asked these questions. And hopefully this helps, because many of us, when we forget something, we berate ourselves. We're like mental hoarders. We want to keep every single memory, especially like when it comes to arguments. I want to remember what my spouse said so I can use it against them. I want to remember this bad service at the restaurant so I can never have that service, blah, 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 blah. Forgetting can be helpful. So I invite you to consider that today as we do our practice. In case you've forgotten what our physical practice is, it's a one-footed balance pose. And please remember, take care of yourself. Do what feels good to you. Even if that's sitting in a chair, lying down and doing this practice, all good. Switch sides. All righty. Contemplation time. I invite you simply to sit as best you can for contemplation, whatever that feels like to you. And then when the little chime goes off, as it does, have a pause and notice if you can keep quiet or what spontaneously jumps into your mind. What patterns come up? Let's find out. meditative part has ended. Notice what rises to your mind as we segue back to the external world. So for me, it's like, wow, there's lots to do today. I better go do it. So I'd love to hear what came to your mind. Feel free to comment or to send me email, text, etc. We'll check in tomorrow. I think we'll have some more about this. Until then.